What about you guys? Was there ever anything like that?
Who was the casting director at that time?
Bridget Berdine.
She was my last voice actor. I was in the last class before.
Yeah.
I was thinking about, because it was like in December.
Yeah. We lost her about 5 years ago.
And a horrible hit and run, not to bring the room down, but it still just makes me mad they never caught. It was a hit and run. Never caught me on.
She's crossing the street.
Oh.
But well beloved.
Yeah, she was great. As far as my most, let me think. It would probably be, I grew up playing Mega Man X and also Marvel vs. Capcom. And whenever I went in to record that game, it was Project Duck. And then I found out I got Sigma. And it was really cloak and dagger. And then I go in and they're like, this is actually not a Mega Man game. It's
right, it was to explain, so Project Doc, so that would be, we often get code names.
Yeah.
But we get cast in a game and we don't know what the name of the game is. We just get a code name, and then when we show up to the session, then we discover what this actual game is. And keeping with that, the funniest code name I remember was one, and the code name was called Yellow Pea. Was anyone in that one? It ended up being one of the Final Fantasy titles. Yellow Pea? Really?
It's always fun trying to figure out where did they get the code name. There's one studio where it's just Rivers in Texas. It's blind light. If you're trying to wonder what that is, it's just Rivers in Texas. But I went in there and they were like, actually, this is Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, and you're the main bad guy. So that was really cool. So, yeah, that was probably my, like, oh man, I'm doing it.
For me, that was Sailor Moon. Because I watched Sailor Moon when it was on Cartoon Network every day after school at 4 o'clock. And some people watched it early in the morning. I don't know how, but whatever, Cartoon Network. And this was in the early Toonami days. So that's when I first saw it, and the characters, Uranus and Neptune, Sailor Uranus and Sailor Neptune, when they came in, immediately became my favorite characters. And I said, oh, I really want to be them when I grow up. And then I was, so. So yeah, Neptune is kind of a dream role for me, one of many, but it's been very rewarding to play her, and it's really funny because some of the Sailor Moon cast members, obviously not anymore because we finished Sailor Moon, but during the recording process, some of them would come up to me and they would ask me questions about, what happens with my character? I want to know. Because I was basically the encyclopedia of Sailor Moon. And Susie, the director, a lot of the times didn't even have to explain what was going on in the scene to me, but she still did, because as the director, you still want to do that. But at some point, she'd be giving me direction and she would say, yeah, this is what happened. You already know, just go ahead. So it was a lot of fun, and I loved doing it. So that was that, yeah, Sailor Moon for sure. And then getting to do Sailor Moon Crystal was kind of crazy because that had never been done before. And Sailor Moon Crystal is closer to the actual manga story as opposed to the original 90s show, which was closer to the story, but with a lot more filler episodes, which I personally didn't mind, and usually I don't like filler episodes, but Sailor Moon, yay!
Well, I'm not a Sailor Scout, but that's okay. I got to...
Oh, okay!
Look at this, I'm fired already. I think getting to join the Gundam universe was a really big deal for me. I was really excited about that. I used to watch Gundam Wing when I was a kid. And... and then I think I got a little too giddy when I got to go into work the day that I found out I was recording for Pokemon Masters. I played a few characters in that. I played Skyla and Hal in Pokemon Masters. And I was like, I calmed down. And then I also remember when I was a kid, I used to really enjoy Toonami, and I was watching Lupin the Third. And yeah, which was really exciting. And then last year, I got to write 2 of the TV specials, like the movies. And which was really exciting because I got to write for Keith Silverstein and for Tony. So I got to write for 2 different Lupins. And I was like, this is darker one. The angsty part. But he's still funny because Keith is hilarious. But yeah, I think he's never mind.
I have to laugh because at all you guys, because I'm listening, and I'm laughing at me. I'm listening to all this going, wow, when I started, anime was just getting here. So I didn't really watch anime. I'm going, anime, what is that? And it's just a...
Now you're part of one of the most classic anime.
Which,
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yes. Oh yeah, listen, I've had a dream life in it, but you know, when you say, well, what did you watch? I couldn't, Mel Blanc was doing all the cartoons that I watched. I grew up on, Bugs Bunny, and it's like, well, I'm not gonna do any of that. And then what's so funny is I've worked with Susie several times, and mine is the absolute opposite. I go in and she'll say, okay, Skip, and here's what's happening, and blah, 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 blah. You don't really care, do you? No. Just show me the scene, show me who I'm hitting, who I'm yelling at, let's go. So it just made me laugh, I will say this though, I was a big gamer at one time, and I always wanted to be part of the Medal of Honor games early on. And I was fortunate enough to do a couple of those, and that was my big deal. I was like, oh, yes, Medal of Honor, because I play a lot of first shooter games. So yeah. So I do get to be part of your party. Yeah.
So what might be the strangest role you've ever had? Something that wasn't expected? For me, actually, there were two in the same production. There was an anime OVA called Dead Leaves. And I played a character named 777, who was a demon who was born again Christian. So wrap that around your head a little bit. And then they had me play a small ancillary character who was this old man who had a, gotta keep this PG-13. His, the thing below your waist was a drill. Yeah, it was just one quick scene. And then most recently, I got to play a singing apple that's teaching you about how you need to wash off your fruits and vegetables before you eat them. So those are some of my strange rules. What about you?
you want to break up the order?
Yeah, sure. One of the strangest roles that I've ever done is actually one of my favorites. Has anyone ever heard of the show Testament of Sister New Devil? Anybody? Okay. So, and these two were actually in that as well. So, Testament of Sister New Devil. Testament of Sister New Devil is it's not for children, but it was so much fun because the entire cast is fantastic, and it was directed by Wendy Lee, who was Faye in Faye Valentine of Cowboy Bebop. And my character basically gets a new stepbrother, and she is the heir to the Demon Lord throne, and they concoct this this curse to where she basically has to, it's a master-slave pact. It doesn't get worse than how you think it is. But, she sometimes is overcome with a feeling, right? And she gets in trouble for it, and it's really funny. And there are some ridiculous scenes in that show. Absolutely absurd. Cakes in bathrooms, that's all I'm gonna say. But it's absurd. But it was a lot of fun. I think, I can't speak for everyone, but I think the whole cast had a lot of fun recording it. That was probably the weirdest show I've ever done, but I loved it.
No, go right ahead.
Okay.
That show was weird.
I was one of the kind of innocent cinnamon bun girls in that show. I was this sad little vampire. Yeah, he was a vampire. I was like a vampire, like an anemic vampire. So he was like, and my favorite part was right in the very beginning when we're first meeting this kid. He's walking up to the main character, who's played by Chris Hackney, and he's walking up, and they're like good friends. He's like, oh hi, how's it going? And Chris is standing there, and I always call call them by their actual human names, I'm sorry. And he's standing there, and the school nurse is like getting very personal with him. And my character just walks up like, "This is normal, hi!" And that was a lot for me. But one of the strangest characters that I don't know, I never played anything that was wildly off the wall. I mean, for animes, character-wise, I suppose. I think one of the ones that kind of bent my brain a little bit was for Hunter x Hunter. I played Girl Kite. I played the incarnation of Kite after things happened to Kite.
Oh, I thought you meant like a literal
No.
kite.
At one point, I mean, at one point, in a completely different anime, at one point I played a cabbage. That was special. So that was cool. But no, I was playing Kite, who already had a person who was portraying them, and so I was like listening to what their performance was and saw what happened, and now they were this strange, terrifying little girl who kind of was a little bit murderous, and there was just a lot to have to pack into like one episode. So I guess that would be my strangest. That and a fire sprite that only spoke. I like making creature noises, but I never get the chance.
2020.
It'll be the year of the creatures.
Well, also, just a side note about sister, new devil,
Yeah.
whatever that is.
Yeah.
Everyone that got it, because they're like, hey, listen, it's an Ichi, is that the
Ecchi.
Ecchi.
Yeah.
It's an Ecchi, it's 18 plus, blah, blah, blah. Are you okay with this? And I was like, yeah. And then they immediately sent me back a casting for it. So they already had me pigeonholed as somebody. And my character, everyone else I talked to was like, what was your character like? It's like, well, my character's actually really nice, or like doesn't do anything weird. Just like, everyone was completely clean. Mine is possibly I looked it up, it's the worst thing. If you look up Belphegor for Sister, New Devil, the scenes are terrible. I can't even talk about anything I did. But he's a demon and he does some really bad stuff. So I was like, thanks, Banksy, for just throwing that.
Would you call that typecasting? Or?
I don't know. But the strangest role was, did any of y'all play Dark Dreams Don't Die? It was by Swery, the video game director. I don't know. But it was a really surreal game. It was back in the day. Ray Chase is the main character, and I was this character that helps him out. And I was Dr. Roland Walken. But every time I talked, I had to talk. Literally. Every line. And then sometimes like, can I speed up? No, we want to make you like a brand with this. Like, everyone's gonna hate this character. I hate both.
That reminds me of the Bugs Bunny cartoon where they hit when he goes to the mad scientist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I remember that. Now you're talking my day.
Well, I saw it on syndication. What's your strength?
Yeah, not really. I mean, I played, it's so funny because I think we've all played demons quite a bit. Seems to be a running theme. I did a live show called Dominion and on Sci-Fi, and we were demons every week, and it was probably one of the most stressful shows that I'd ever worked on because we had 4 different written languages to learn that were make-up languages, and I played quite a bit. They were called 8 balls, and they were just these demonic, with their own language, and that's probably the strangest thing I've ever had to do.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that was pretty weird, and a lot. It was very difficult, to learn the language and make sense of it. And if I can, I'll tell you a very quick little story. There was an actor that did this beautiful part on the show, and he was so wonderful. And he did this wonderful scene, and it was like, now, whatever. You can say whatever. But in one of the playbacks they did, they always do a playback with everybody, and they make corrections. The person had come up with the language. Now, he saw the scene, and this is what I heard. I wasn't there, but this was, oh, no, he's butchering what I wrote. That's not the language. No one would ever know that, and it was the most beautiful scene, and it sounded pretty much like, he butchered it. It's not what I wrote. How do you do Gita Kudulama, and forget a Dika Dot, you know? And I was one of the funniest I'd ever heard that somebody was just like, no, and it was such a beautiful scene.
Just real quick, second there. It was a sci-fi show, right?
Yes.
Where'd you film it?
That was at Anifex. We did that at Anifex over in Glendale.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, they used to film those sci-fi movies in like Romania. That's why they were.
Oh, we were just doing the post.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
They would film over in Romania, and I used to work on the same floor as Sci-Fi. I was at USA Network. And then they had the same director, that's how they kept the cost down. They just turned those things out with bad CGI and everything. But they were trying to give notes to the Romanian director, and he's like, I can't do that. You'll ruin the movie. And I was like, you'll ruin the movie.
Yeah, I love that. I have a friend who's on a CW show called The Outpost, and they filmed the first season in Utah, and they said, congratulations, we got renewed for another season, but we're filming it in Serbia.
Yeah.
So he's been back and forth to Serbia for the last 2 years. He's like, great, we're in season 3, and still in Serbia. When I'd say it's about tax. It's a lot more than tax rebates when you film it in another country like that.
You know what they say, when in Serbia. Okay.
Has anyone here had a role that really changed their life? Whether it was a transformative role as you as an actor, or the one role that sort of put you on the map and opened up other opportunities for you.
Still trying to find that.
I'll start. For me, being not somebody that was into anime growing up, when I started doing it and was lucky enough to get into Cowboy Bebop, and not knowing what Cowboy Bebop was at the time, and I don't think anybody did. I mean, they knew it was something special, but it wasn't until years later they realized how far ahead of its time it was. But be a part of that. For me, it's about being able to do this, because I love meeting people like Mario sitting there staring, giving me the eye there. Mario came up to me a little bit ago, and he had a picture from us last year.
Yeah.
And I love that, This is my, and you too. I knew you guys were gonna be here. These two, last year, they were pointing me where I was supposed to go. I didn't have a handler, and they were my handlers last year. Yes, I tell you. It's just, this is the best thing for me. I look forward to this. This is the only convention that I do. And I absolutely look forward to it. When I got the call early on this year, I was like, yeah, 6 months? Okay. And I had 6 months to be all, and I had my own ribbons printed up, and I won't do a commercial yet, but I'm going to pull it out and show you what I have, so come up and see me. But this is what, for me, when I was able to do that and to do those roles that people knew about, Guy Sensei, everybody knows Guy, and that got me here. And to meet you guys, I might meet you passing through in the studio. We said, how do we not pass each other at some point? Because we all work on the same thing, but we never really meet.
You kind of see each other on the sign-in sheets. Like,
Yes.
Christian was here 15 minutes ago.
Right. Oh, Lauren was here.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
2 hours ago.
There you go.
Exactly. So for me, those roles that brought me here, those were life-changing, because I absolutely love this. When I'm here, I'm here. As soon as I leave here, I'm gonna go hang out, trade ribbons, do this, talk to people, whatever, and then go do my other thing, and then go trade ribbons. And by the time at the end of the day, my feet are killing me, because I've been out walking around, meeting everybody, and I love it. So that's for me.
Practice makes perfect.
She's making fun of me because I'm still new to cons and they make me nervous because I'm an introvert. I'm an actor, but I act in a room by myself. Do you understand? Okay, thanks, babe. Okay, things that, life-changing moments. I think I have two. two that I can think of. The first one I would say would be Beyblade. Beyblade was my very first lead role in an anime, which was very exciting, and it was really sweet because the casting director, Mami Okada, was so sweet about telling me. She was really excited to tell me face-to-face, one-on-one. She's like, I want you to know that you got this. I'm so proud of you, and we're going to move forward. And I was really excited about that. But then, the thing that really did, I think it wasn't the role necessarily that changed my life, but there was a moment that I had to deal with that kind of put things forward and kind of line stuff up for me, and that was after we did the first volume of the show. Usually when you're recording anime, you'll have a certain number of episodes in front of you to record, and you get through it, and then you'll wait a couple weeks or so to get the rest of them written, and then you do more in batches. So I finished the very first volume of Beyblade. I was very excited, and I went in for the next volume, and I went for the first day, and that was great. And then I walked in for the second day, and the director pulls me aside and says, hey, there's a thing that's going to go on. This is totally normal, especially starting the first, the very beginning of a show, especially and the main character. They want to recalibrate the voice. And I said, cool, that sounds fine. So we went in and we were going to get started, and Mami, the casting director, was there, and Eric, one of the owners of Weisz, was there, and then they had the clients back on the phone. And I was totally cool and not worried at all until the owner of the space came in and was like, by the way, I just want you to know that we're all on your side, and we really think this is silly, and we love what you've been doing. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm fighting for my job. No, don't worry, it ends really well. But I was like, okay, great. But I had two choices at that point, and that was either to cower and freak out and get all up in my head and think, oh gosh, I've lost everything, or work with them and enjoy the moment, because I'm acting still, I'm doing my job, I like what I do, and I know that I can deliver what it is that they want if they just tell me what it is. And we totally did it. We recalibrated the voice, and they were absolutely happy with what I had to give them. And the people who were working with me in the booth, the team that was there, were all very pleased and glad that I handled things the way that I handled them. And I totally waited until I got into the car to cry. That was totally fine. And everything worked out. I got to keep my job, obviously. But these are things that happen to you when you're an actor, right? Sometimes, and it's totally business. It's not personal. They didn't dislike me. They didn't dislike what I did. It's just they wanted to make sure that it was exactly right for the client.
And it's easy to take it personally.
It is easy to take it
You
personally.
have to get out of your head.
Absolutely. Otherwise, you don't move forward. But it was, that changed my life for me. It was, number one, I knew that I could do it, and I did it. And number two, it showed people that I really care about professionally and personally that I will deliver, and that was really great. And then the second story, I'll stop after this, was Hayato. Hayato for JoJo's. He comes in towards the end of that season, but he goes through some really difficult, tragic things. And one of those is a really difficult kind of vulnerable scene in which it's basically an abuse scene in a bathroom with his father figure. And for me, that was really important to portray it as honestly as I could, because people deal with that every day, and it's a scary thing to do, and it's a vulnerable thing to do, and if I walked in there and I half-assed it or something, then I felt that I would be doing a disservice to the story and the character and people who have been abused and things like that. So that was really important to me, and I was glad that I was able to do what I could and hopefully do as well as I possibly could and try to do justice to it. So those two things, trying not to be a downer. Somebody talk about happy stuff.
Well, first off, when I first found out that Laura was cast in Beyblade, I got really excited because Laura and I have known each other since 2009, yeah, something like that. We've known each other for quite a while.
Holy crap, that's 10 years.
Yes, yes it is. So when I found out,
middle school? Can you compliment me?
No, when I first met Lauren, I had no idea she was a voice actor at all. I had no clue.
and then like years later, she ends up in the voiceover industry, so it was a nice surprise.
Yeah.
For me personally, I I would like to say there's one specific role or one specific moment, but the truth is, for me, there are several moments, because for me, what really, I think, I don't really remember how the question was put, but I know the answer. How, you know, just every part that I receive that I'm cast as is very rewarding to me. Every single day that I am cast in something, or that I get an audition or whatever, I try and be as grateful as I can be for it, because the truth is that for any of us, this can all stop at any time, you know? And the truth is...
And it has several times throughout the years.
Right, this is not an easy industry to be a part of. If you have established yourself well enough, then that's wonderful, because that is important. But for me, I really just am grateful for anything that comes my way. And on top of that, I get to pretend for a living. I get to create. I get to perform, which was always my dream as a kid. So
This is a privileged career.
yeah.
It's a privilege to have this career.
And I 100% feel very privileged and very fortunate, and yeah, that's really what I'm just, everything that I get, I'm very grateful for, and that inspires me to do more. That I think that helps me establish my career, because obviously the more I get, the more established I feel. So, you know, for me, I think those are just, every moment counts for me. So.
It's funny how this works though. It's like last month I had like a really awesome month, and then I was just this week I didn't have anything. I was like, oh God, I'm terrible. I'm awful. Like
It's true though.
yeah, I mean it's really that's probably the worst thing about being a voice actor. That if you're the worst thing, first off, a lot of people don't have casting people don't have any regards for your time. It's like with quick turnarounds. With things, it's a bit different.
Yeah.
But there are certain projects, especially with commercials or promo, where it's like, I could very well be done with this panel, look at my phone, and realize I have to run to my room and get something in by 2 p.m.
Yep.
So it's very hard to leave your house. It's very hard to make plans. It's very hard to leave town. I mean, like Ezra got called up today.
Right.
You know, it's very, you know, and you think about that, like let's say you're going to take a week-long vacation somewhere. You know, it's a big risk. And
Right, you could be giving up, you know, several $1,000s of work that might not come again.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've heard it. It's like Neil Kaplan had a cruise story where he lost it. Brad Venable. He had a cruise story where he lost a lot of money, and
Just don't go on cruises.
don't go on cruises.
Don't go on vacations.
But back to like my most transformative role, it'd probably have to be Gundam Tanaka from Danganronpa 2. Mainly because it just opened up so many other avenues for me. It opened up this, just like Skip said, like this is the only con I really do. And it's an honor getting to meet all y'all. And for now.
We don't change that.
Yeah. And it also that I started recently streaming Danganronpa 2. And usually when I put myself out there, like I don't really get the numbers of anything, but we've had a really good audience. Like we're getting around like 150 people each time, like watching this game and going through this journey, and they're watching. It's like I'm getting to see this piece, and there's a lot of great voice actors in it, like Kira, Bryce, Patrick, Wendy, and it's really neat seeing what other people like, what drove them to the character, and then you know. During it, I voiced all the lines that, you know, sometimes there's a lot of dialogue, and the only thing you get to say is, I see, and then there's blah, blah, blah. And I was going through the game, I got to voice it in Gundam, and it's just been a really neat experience.
For me, there's this weird moment that happened, and I experienced it all alone. So on Cartoon Network a few years ago, and they might still do it, showing anime, and they'll show a show, then they'll show their weird bumpers, and it was like the white writing, and be like, this is something weird. Then they'll show one commercial, and then it'll be right on to the next show. So I played a character named Jin in Moribito Guardian of the Spirit, and I played a character named Uribe in Code Geass Lelouch. And they aired back to back on Cartoon Network. And I was home and I decided to watch it. So my character on Morabito had the last line of the episode, on this particular episode. Then the bumper played. Then one commercial played. And that commercial was a commercial for ESP guitars. It was like a contest to win Metallica tickets. And it was narrated by me. Then Kokias Lilouch came on, and just in that specific episode, the first line in that episode was also narrated, was also me. So is this really happening? And my girlfriend had gone to the bathroom, so like no one, this really happened, but I couldn't share it with anybody. And she came back from the bathroom, I'm like, I couldn't even like speak at
But what year was that?
It was probably like 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. But that was like, okay, you know, because as Lauren was saying, you know, and most people that are fans know this, but we're not like hired by a company and work 40 hours a week. We're not on staff with anyone. You know, we get cast in a particular role for a particular show, and then we don't know what's going to happen next. And we could be fortunate enough to have a nice recurring role on a certain show, but those end as well. So, you know, I tell everybody, the entertainment business in general is very feast or famine. You have to hope that the feast holds you through to the next famine, and that you don't go crazy in between, you know, and you have to, and the good thing about that though is when you have a little bit of downtime, that's when you kind of dig in, work on your craft a little bit, maybe take a class. I was on Bob Bergen's waiting list for like 6 years, and I finally took his class. And you know, I learned stuff from Bob. You know, even like I said, being a voice actor for 17 years, that just sort of opened my mind to try something this way. You know, so there's always something new that you can learn from people, and that's what I suggest when those downtimes happen. I also suggest the only time going on vacation is do it the week right after New Year's Eve, before the following January. Which is what I did. Well, because my girlfriend's in the industry too. She's a full-time makeup artist, so we knew that between January 1st and 7th, there probably wasn't going to be anything too much that we would miss.
Dude, I was
lucked out this
January
time.
2nd.
What's that? You got with us on January 2nd?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So yeah, so it's we're all taking a gamble when we go or do anything. I remember, because I'm also a traveling musician, I remember that I was called. I'm a real bard.
Toss a point to your Witcher.
Andrea Romano called me for a Batman episode, and I was on tour.
No.
And I was like, I can't do it. You know,
You are so fancy.
You know, oh, sorry. But not really. I guess I would have been fancy, but I didn't end up being in that Batman episode. But so, you know, you make your choices. Okay, so that leads me to my next question is, what was maybe your most uncomfortable role? That maybe you didn't know it was going to be uncomfortable till you got there, or maybe you knew it was going to be and just sort of hunkered down and did it. You know, a lot of times we get cast in something and we're not given the script until we get there. Even more so with video games, but also with animation and anime too. You know, the industry is very tight-lipped. You don't know what show you're on half the time. You don't know what game you're in half the time till you get there, because they don't want leaks. You know, social media is very easy to, you know, even sometimes you can take a picture in a specific studio and be like, back at the mic, you know, and then they'll know that like, the wall behind him is brown. And there's like a piece of trim that's yellow. He must be at that studio. He must be working on that project. So like I even try to like obscure like where I am. You know, I just don't even do mic selfies anymore unless it's something that's already out that they know I'm working on. What has an uncomfortable role ever come your way?
Well, you know this one very well. It was was the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure when Abdal and old Joseph are magnetized, and they are together the entire episode, and they try to get unstuck, and it just leads to. I went into the booth, and then Tony said, "I'm probably not going to win any awards for this episode." And also, there's a point where my face is smashed up, like I see my character's face, and his right cheek is that. So the whole time I'm having to put my hand into there to make the smushing noise. And then when the episode came out, I realized I was the only one that did it. I think Richard Epcar didn't do it. I get that Tony was like, when Chris was putting on, I'm not doing that.
I can just see like, no.
No. Nobody's telling Richard Epcar to do that. But that was the most physically uncomfortable one. And it was also just an embarrassing episode.
I love it, Mr. Joestar, incoming. For me, I mean, maybe it's because I don't give a crap, but for me, I guess the most uncomfortable, quote unquote, is probably Testament, because I did a whole lot of moaning in that show. And what's really funny, although again, I just was having a blast in the show, so I didn't really care as much. And also, it really helped that for the first portion of it, it was an all-female team. So it was Wendy Lee who was directing, and then the engineer Erica, she was amazing. She was awesome. We were just all having a lot of fun with it. And with those shows, it really can go just in a bad direction. Like, it can be really crappy, it can be not tasteful, and with a storyline that show has, we wanted to make the dialogue at least tasteful. So, we did a good job with that. But one moment that I'll never forget, which I thought it was hilarious, I had just gotten done with a session. We were on break, and I went to sit in the waiting area, just chilling out. And one of the production assistants, Cherry, came up to me, and she had this wide grin on her face, and she just sat down next to me, and she was like, "Sup, girl?" And I'm just like, "Hey, what's going on?" And she's nothing. How's your day going? Like, it's going good. Why? And she's like, "No, I just feel like I know you a whole lot better now." And I'm like, "Oh, Cherry." I thought it was hilarious, but again, I don't care, so I just had a blast with it, It's for me, it's like if it's a role, I'm not gonna half-ass it, so, What about you?
Oh, no.
Well, I don't want to be last on this subject because mine's a real downer. But so I played a cop in the game Mafia 3, and it takes place in a fictional 1960s New Orleans. Once again, you don't see the script till you get there. And when I got the role, I was looking at the script and I realized, like around page 4, because with video games you have to often give every possible scenario that's happening. So like he's on the bridge, he's under the bridge, he's on top of the bridge, like that, that kind of thing, because that's happening in the game. So they were going for ultimate realism, and if you can imagine, the main character in Mafia 3 is black, and the cop is white, and in the script there's all these very bad words, and so and the director basically, when we got to that, it was J.B. Blanc, and just in his British accent, he's like, "Well, here we go." I guess here we go, but that was in the script, so.
At least it wasn't portrayed in a positive light.
Right, yeah. I mean, the character, somebody has to play the bad guy, and I wrote that. No. And I do the short stick, so I was the bad guy in that one, but that was my most uncomfortable.
Oh, man, yeah, I can understand that. I guess
I should be down there. I'm just like, uncomfortable. Oh yeah, I tell you, I just had, and this is kind of, I wasn't uncomfortable with the role. It was uncomfortable with the session because it was just a new type of a session. You guys have probably all done these. I haven't. It was for a new show. I'm assuming it's new. I think it's second season of something called Killer 7. That makes sense? On Netflix, I think. It's a Chinese anime. And it was great. It's crazy. For those of you that aren't, it's a crazy, fun, wacky, crazy show. But the way they shot it, I didn't see the script, didn't know what I was doing, and it was several different roles. I thought I was doing one role. No, it's good. We're gonna have to do all these other roles. Oh, okay. And you guys, have you shot this thing where the ribbon goes by with your guy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've been doing that, but more recently though.
Yeah, I just did it
for
for
the match the timing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
If you ever play rock band or karaoke and you have like the lines or the lyrics are scrolling underneath.
Yeah. And that's exactly, and I'd never done that before. It's usually right here in front of me or up on the screen, but it's not moving.
Right.
So he says, okay, so here we go, you're gonna be this guy. Which guy? The cat guy. And there's like 3 of them. The craziest one. And I go, oh, okay. And what kind of voice do you want here? Oh, I don't know. Just come up with something that we might like. And most of the voices that I do are down in here, or that kind of thing. And now let's just go crazy up here. So, okay. And now they've got all 3 characters, all their dialogue going by. So I'm looking at them, what is that? Oh, that's your dialogue. Which one? And you're the purple. Oh, okay. Ooh, is it getting hot in here? And I never get hot in the studio. I'm always really comfortable. And it was going so fast that I'm like, okay. And then we kept going. He goes, oh yeah, I like to shoot the whole scene. I don't like to do it loop at a time. And I'm like, we're doing the whole scene? I'm a loop at a time kind of guy. And he goes, yeah, you'll like it once you get used to it. I don't know. And he had such a heavy accent, I couldn't understand what he was saying. So I'm just doing a lot of this. Oh, okay. I have no idea. That was probably my most uncomfortable time in a booth. It had nothing to do with the character, but I was just trying to keep up with them. And I tell you, it was a lot of fun once I caught on and figured it out, and they took the other dialogue away, and just, because I was like, I'm gonna keep going saying everybody else's line, please, just one. Okay, we can do that. And it was a ton of fun, but it was uncomfortable at the beginning. I haven't really had an uncomfortable character, all the characters, other than I did do a gay character, and my only uncomfortability was not being stereotypical of what a lot of times happens in Hollywood, and playing him for real, but they really wanted him out there. That was a little, well, how far, that was a little.
Yeah.
You guys are like in a choir. Yeah. Perfect time. Yeah.
When I was cast as Hayato in JoJo, I did an audition for the role. I was auto-cast, which was really, really lovely. But because of that, I didn't know the full story of JoJo very well at all. So I was like, oh, this must be just like a quick one-off character since it's just a quick auto-cast. It must be maybe he's in an episode or 2. And I happened to be friends with the writer of JoJo, and I was hanging out with him, I think, when I got the email. And I said, oh, I'm in your show. And he said, oh, who are you? And I said, Hayato. And he said, you're important. Oh, okay. And then he told me about the scene that I was talking to you about before. He's like, this is gonna happen. He's like, wait, look. And he showed it to me, and I was like, oh my god. No pressure, okay. But I got to sit there and count it down because there were episodes before that I had to record, but I'm sitting there thinking about this and sweating like, oh good, I'm so glad I get to anticipate this for like a month. So that was a little uncomfortable, but we got through it, of course, and especially because the team is so strong. Tony Oliver is an amazing director, and he's very, very supportive. And I even got to talk to him beforehand and say, listen, this is coming up for that character, and it's a little frightening for me, so if we can just, and he's like, don't worry, I got you, and he totally did. He's very supportive. The other kind of uncomfortable role, I played the lead character in Mary Stelter 2, Otsu. Yeah, Mary Stelter. And so the second installment of that game, I'm the lead character, and the only way I can describe her is sort of as a princely lesbian, but which is great, and I had lots of fun with her. But there's a very interesting mini game in that game, and I wasn't aware of it until after I cast and rolled. They said, "Are you sure? Are you comfortable with this?" And I was like, what the hell? And so the mini game, the way that you gain power in this game is you fight the monsters, and of course, because that's very messy, the monsters have blood and it splashes on you, and you have to remove the blood in ways that you know what I mean? Yes, it's a team effort to remove the blood. And so there's the mini game, and it's a touch screen, kind of like a little Switch game, and so you rub things off. Forgive me. But the fun part was I wasn't necessarily as uncomfortable as my very sweet director, Christian Lamont. He's, the minute I say his name, he's such a sweet, lovely, just incredibly brilliant director. Very sweet boy, very innocent boy, and absolutely wanted to make sure that every actress that came in and had to do these things was comfortable and knew that he was not trying to. So we had to do a certain number of reactions to the game, and when it came time to do those, it's just my favorite thing. He's like, all right, so now we're going to move on to the consensual touching of the torso. Okay, and what we're looking for here is surprise, but not unwelcome. Okay, Christian.
I
took great pleasure in knowing that Christian was put in that position. Because Christian is so sweet and he is so respectful. I love that. Oh, I love it. That's really good. So that was the uncomfortable. But I was okay because of how respectful he was and how sweet he was, and everybody was on board on the same page, and nobody was taking advantage of the situation. So it was totally fine, but he was that poor sweet child. It's just like, okay.
Not as often in anime, but often when we work on video games, there will be like a half a dozen people that have to sign off on each line. Sometimes I remember when I was working on Resident Evil 5, there was a director, and then two producers in the room, and then there were two other producers in Japan watching on a camera on Skype. So every time you said a line, you had to wait about a minute before they told you any sort of direction. So it could be as simple as like, stop it, and then you see these two people talk, and then the two producers from Japan chime in, and then finally someone comes up, yeah, could you say that slightly slower? Stop it. Blah, 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 talk. Could you give it a little more energy to it? Stop it! Those can be uncomfortable too, because we're actors, we're all like, always inside our own head, and you can get really, it can freak you out, especially when you see people talking to each other, and you're behind the glass, and everyone's talking to each other, and like someone shakes their head, you're like, I'm terrible, I'm gonna get fired, this is awful, and then you find out later that they were just discussing what they were gonna have for lunch. No, I don't like Burger King, no.
My favorite part of those moments is when you've done 28 takes of a 2-word line, and you feel like you're about to get fired, and they say, okay, we're gonna move on, we got to take 1.
Well, I feel like the worst thing you can do is hit a line 95% what they want, because they're like, that's great, and then they'll bring you down to the next take will be 75, 35, 85, and then you just never get back to the things they want. Have any of y'all been in the studio though when they've left you can actually hear them?
Right, they accidentally left the talkback on.
It was there was something wrong with the talkback button, but it happened halfway through the thing where it just wasn't working, so I could still hear them muted. But it was with Christian. So luckily I was hearing them, and because it was also for pickups.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, oh God, what are they talking about that? But anyway, they were talking, I don't want to say blow up the company or anything, but they were talking about this is why we made this choice in the first place. So they were basically kind of on my side with that. Or and they were saying I don't know why we have to make them say it like this. But so I actually got to hear what they were saying, but if I didn't know, I'm going in for a retake, it's oh man, I really butchered these lines for them.
I remember I was recording at PCB and Keith Aram was directing me in a game, and I just remember for about 5 minutes he was talking to the client, didn't hear anything, and then like a second later turns to me and he's like, "We're not talking about you." I'm like, "Oh my God." I just love it. It's like, thank you.
I definitely had moments where, I'm lucky enough to be, and I think a lot of us are, to get really like kind of close with a lot of our directors.
Yeah.
Like they're very much our friends, or we think of them as extended family. And I've had a few moments. I'm not going to name any names or point any fingers or anything, but where I've gone in and the director has purposefully left the talk back on so that I can hear without telling the client, because he wants me to be abreast of the situation of what's going on, because you know they know what's going on, and it's like it's just going to be easier, so you know. And there are definitely moments with specific clients, and it's often actually because the clients have so much love for the project that we're working on, that they become very particular about what they're looking for. Or sometimes they're such fans that they kind of want to project what they want to have happen onto what's going on in front of them, even though that may not necessarily be canon. So there are certain moments where there's discussion back and forth about what needs to go on, and it often has entirely nothing to do with the person who's in the booth, and everything to do with the final product of the piece. And it's good to keep that in perspective so that we don't rip our hair off and our faces off and all that other stuff.
I have a sort of golf script or whatever. There is no script. Have we ever had, because this happened to me only once though, where the director wasn't digging what you were doing, but the client was loving it. And the director, this happened to me once. I was voicing this rock character, and it was a rock character. You know, it's one of these, like, I was a big rock giant.
Sure.
Anyway, I'm in a bunch of mobile games that go out to I don't know where. I probably work on one a month, and I look them up, and I'm like, I don't know what this is. Yeah, but there was one where I was voicing this rock giant, and you know, I was probably doing, it was like years ago, like, you know, something like that. And anyway, the director's like, no, you've got to be, I would hear the Chinese come on, and she's like, wait, you like that? Okay, they like that. And then anyway, we went through, and she was like, can you do it more like this? And then anyway, this thing, she's like, no, they loved your first date. And I could just tell she was getting irritated. I never worked with her again. But the client was digging it. I was like, man, I like this Chinese guy. I don't know what he's saying, but he's digging this.
Yeah, he's my friend. Yeah. I think the closest I've ever come to something like that is where before the session started, the client was actually in the room, and that happens often with like JRPGs or video games. There'll often be a client in the room, or the writer will be in the room, or what have you, to work on and tweak things. And before they arrived, I was talking with the director, and they were like, all right, so before they get here, I just want to discuss something with you. And I was like, oh, okay, what's up? And they're like, so everyone is aware of the state of the script. However, the client is very married to the state of the script. And so, please, just do your best with it. I was like, okay. And then I've also had another situation where it was a make-for-TV something or other, and it was sort of a prelay, so it's Western style animation, which means the animation is not necessarily done or before we record. You record first, and then they animate to you. And they said, so what's going on is we're going to do this. We have a few animatics that you can watch, that we're going to watch down because it was still an individual record. And they said, okay. So once again, it was another conversation. Like, you know the state of the script. However, there's going to be a camera in the room with you recording because they would like to animate to your face. And I was like, okay, that's great. They said, so when you see what's going to happen in the script or what you need to say, just be mindful that there's a camera in the room. So maybe be careful what your expression says before you start. I was like, you got it. Like, you looked at the script like, yeah, don't do that. just enjoy what's in front of you. I was like, you got it, dude. So sometimes there are
Going
moments
through
like
like,
that.
oh, I love this.
I
Oh,
know.
this is great.
Amazing. Like, you know, sometimes you can't choose your fare. But it's still lots of fun, and you make the best of what's in front of you, and oftentimes you don't know what's going to go really, really well before it's done. Because sometimes you might think this isn't going to go anywhere, and then suddenly it's an explosion. You're like, all right, cool.
I wanted to talk about heartache a little bit, and heartbreak in this industry. And maybe stuff that we've experienced. I like to jokingly say that I'm the Clint Howard of voice acting, because if you look up my credits, I've been in hundreds of shows, but I've never really been the lead. Clint Howard is Ron Howard's brother, and you recognize him instantly. He's a character actor that's been in like probably 1,000 things his whole life. He's never been the lead. There was a game for a really big company, and it was going to be one of the sort of flagship games for the PlayStation 4 when it came out. It was about 5 years ago, and I was cast as the lead. You play, like, I'm the character that, I'm the voice of the guy that you play as. Like, you play, and so anytime the character does something, I'm his voice, and we had 2 sessions, and I was told, great, we're gonna, we're gonna record this stuff, they're gonna show it at this big convention in Japan, and then, in a few months, we're gonna come back and record the whole rest of the game, and I was so excited that this was like my first lead character, this is gonna be awesome, it's just like a feather in my cap, like an awesome thing. And like the months went by, and the months went by, and the months went by, and I'm like, what happened to that game? And apparently they had trouble with the game engine itself. So the game was never completed. They had spent like almost $10 million on this game that never came out.
Is it public knowledge that like?
No, I don't know if, so I don't want to like blow up the company or whatever. But so that was a big heartache for me. Was I finally got the lead in this game, and then it never came out. And I think also if you've been in this industry as long as some of us have, inevitably sometimes you might get replaced. Sometimes you might replace somebody else. And once again, that's got nothing to do with you. And that's happened to me before too, where I actually came in to replace someone, recorded all of their lines for a game, and then when the patch for that game came out, the cutscene came out, it wasn't me either. So I replaced someone, then someone else replaced me for that role too, and that's just happened. I don't know what if that's.
I tell everyone, like, in this business, you're going to replace someone and you're going to be replaced. It just happens. It's happened to everyone at least once. Probably my biggest heartbreak was with Sigma. It was that game, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Like, there were posters of my character all around town. It had a big thing at E3, and that was the main villain. It was Ultron Sigma, like he merges with Ultron with the universe. I was like, this is my big break. This is going to establish me as one of the premier bad guys with this role. And it came out, and they did some things like day one DLC. They did nearly everything wrong with the launch, and then did not support the game. Just removed all support, and the game just basically was dead on arrival. And it's there's a streamer, Maximilian Dude, who like loves the game and was basically just talking about everything that went wrong with it, but that the actual game was good. So that was that was like my big break, and like that was like 2 years of me waiting for it to come out. Like, don't worry, Chris, when this comes out, this is gonna be like, And then it came, and then thankfully it was a Maximilian that said he really liked my voice work, and I got a lot of like followers from it. But besides that, it was not the end all be all.
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to mind for me as far as heartache goes is, when you are replaced on a project. But, in those moments you have to separate yourself and pretty much say, well, this is part of the industry. It hurts and it sucks, but it's a part of it, and you kind of have to regroup and then move on to the next thing. You kind of have to forget about it. Now, obviously, I can't talk about what the project was or whatever, but I was a part of a project, and I was later replaced. And the director called me and pretty much said, I'm pretty sure you know what this is about. And I said, yeah, I think I have an idea. And what I said to them, I said, well, I really thank you for calling me, because a lot of times we don't get told that we're being replaced or that they went in a different direction. A lot of the time, as Jason was saying, you find out when it comes out.
Yeah.
So I was very grateful that this director had called me and had said, they decided to go in a different direction. I wanted to give you a heads up on that. And instead of making it, because that's already a very uncomfortable thing to do, I'm sure, and very hard and difficult. So I said, you know what? I know how uncomfortable this was for you and how difficult this was for you to call me. So I really appreciate you calling me as opposed to me finding out later. And I think that kind of made the business relationship a little stronger. So that was kind of rough, and whenever I see said project, it kind of stings a little bit. But, the other heartache that I also feel is that when work can sometimes slow down, because it can for anybody, and it does for many, many people. Especially if you're a creative person, you're really wanting to itch that scratch, and amongst your peers, you were seeing so many people announce, oh, I'm in this, I'm in this, I'm in this, I'm in this. And, sometimes, of course, you're happy for your peers, but then in the same token, you're like, oh, so, yeah. So, and, that's, for me personally, I definitely I love to create, I love to perform. And when I'm not able to do that, it makes me sad. So, it doesn't happen very often, but occasionally it will happen for any actor. And yeah, definitely the biggest heartache is, I think, being replaced on something. But as I said, it's one of those things that when you come into this industry, you have to be prepared for that. And it sucks, it really does. But you regroup and you move on to the next thing, because whatever you were replaced in, you're just going to book something else after that. So.
I'm just watching you.
I love you. Heartache. I think there was a situation at one point, and I absolutely don't want to air out any humans or places or whatever. But there was at one point there was a project that was coming up, and a casting director pulled me aside and talked about it with me and said, this is coming up, and I'm really excited about it. And there's a particular character that I really prefer for you to read for. Please keep an eye out. This is coming. And I was like, okay, great. And of course, as you can probably tell what we're talking about, the audition came up, and I saw it. And I saw, based on the way that it was couched in the email, that this was probably ultimately not going to be the casting director's choice. It was going to be the client's prerogative primarily. And I was like, okay, that's fine, I understand. And I, did the audition and did not book it, that happens every day. 9 times of the auditions that you do, you're not going to book. Even the ones that you really care about, especially really the ones that you really care about, because you're thinking about them too hard.
And they never tell you, by the way,
Yeah.
when you audition for something, if you don't get the role,
No.
they don't email you and say, hey, by the way, you didn't get that role.
No.
You just don't hear anything.
And then you see when it comes out. And you see when
Yeah.
it comes out, and that's what happened. And that's all right. And I think especially another thing that's difficult, and especially when you're just starting out, is when say you're seeing some auditions come in for you for certain projects, and then you know that other projects are going into production, but you don't see any auditions for those. And if you care about those auditions or you really like to go for that project, you don't have control over knocking on the door and saying, I want to do this one, please. Right. That's not necessarily a thing that can happen. Every once in a while, if you have a really strong connection with the casting director or the production house or whatever, have you, and you have that open dialogue, you can say, hey, I know this is coming up, I would love to read for it. Don't walk in there and say, give me this. That's not going to work out. But we have to understand, I think, as actors especially, that some opportunities are not for us. And there are many that are. And it's okay when things go by, when we don't have this, or if it goes to somebody else, or if it ultimately a decision is made to change directions or what have you. It's a thing. It's just, it's not ours. We can't claim ownership to characters and roles and things. Lots of people, like I was just talking about with Lupin, there's more than one Lupin. It's an iconic, amazing character, but lots of people share roles. And we can't sit there and say, no, this one's mine and this one's mine. This is an art form, and art is shared, it's a communal experience. So as long as we can keep that perspective and understand that when certain opportunities come by, they're for us, and it's tailor-made, and we can kick that opportunity's butt. And then other ones are gonna pass us by. It's okay, that's not the one for us. There's something else coming by. And you never know what's gonna come up tomorrow, ever. It's ridiculous that way.
That's a really good point, because a lot of people who aren't in the industry, a lot of people will come up to me and say, hey, so when did you decide you wanted to play this character, and you know, how did you decide to play this character? And yeah, that's my reaction. Well, for someone who doesn't know, you know, I can understand. So I usually say, oh honey, we don't get to decide. You know, we get, you know, if we're sent a bunch of characters in an audition, we get to choose who we read for. But sometimes the studios will send us audition sides for a specific character, 2 specific characters, 3 specific characters. And if you want more chances, obviously, you'll want to read for all 3 of them. But that is a very good point, to where their shows come out, and if you didn't get to audition for them, it's like, oh, but what about, but you know,
Yeah.
so, but again, you regroup. So, but that's a good point. Good point.
Thanks, babe. You're welcome.
Also,
Stop looking at me.
We're friends.
when you audition for we have a ton of characters in this game, and it's like we have it's like, okay, well, I've got to get one. I'm not mad. Like and then you don't end up getting one. It's almost like, you know, you're like playing like a first-person shooter, and you have a shotgun, and someone's like right in front of you, like shooting all around. You realize you just sprayed everywhere. It's like, how did I not hit that? Yeah.
Real quick, my biggest heartache is when I'm called in to replace Chris or Jason. It truly breaks my heart. I do, I feel bad. And
He cries all the way to the bank.
yeah. No, I will tell you this in all seriousness. I do a lot of voice matching in live action stuff, television, voice matching and voice replacing. And
Were you Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon? Was that you?
No.
On Die Hard, on TV.
Oh.
When you watch Die Hard on TV, he says Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon.
Yes.
There's no Mr. Falcon in Die Hard. But
Yeah.
for some reason he says Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon.
Oh, I tell you, some of the sessions that I've done, you know, because a lot of times they have the stars, they don't want to come in and clean up their language for the airplane, you know, stuff.
Right.
And what do you want me to say there? Well, I don't know. You got anything, you know? Because it's like, hey, mother, blah, 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 what do you want to say? Well, let's try fudge. Well, that never works. Fudge never works, you know? And we have this huge discussion. But I will tell you this, though. I do a lot of replacement because they do shoot a lot of stuff in other countries. And, or even here, and you know it's this guy's first role, or maybe his second role, and they're saying, Skip, I just need you to replace this. Why? The director just really like his read. Okay. And I just know they're gonna go to the theater, they're gonna have their mom and their dad and their family, here I come. And the guy's like up in here, hey mister, you can't do that. And all of a sudden, hey mister, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, son, you really sound good on that. You sound a lot different, but it sounds good. Yeah, I know, Mom. You know, and it's just got to be heartbreaking.
Something it nearly is. Okay, I was called in to replace. It was in Terminator, and it was like the first line of the movie. It's like, are there others down here? But they brought in 2 of us to do it. Like when we were replacing us, I was like, oh gosh, so I guess they wanted different chances with it. But then something led me to believe that I was going to be. They brought me in for an additional time, and I did it. I was like, okay, I guess it's me. So I bring my friends to the theater. I make a little post on Facebook about being in Terminator 2, which is my one voice line. It's at the very beginning of the movie, so I got my friends with me. And I'm like, here it is. Like John Connor's a kid, and this Terminator's down there. It's like, all right, here it is. And then it's like, are there others down here? And and I was like, that's not me. And then anyway, the people turned towards me, and they're like, that was good. I was like, no. And the worst part was I had to sit through the hour and 50 minutes afterwards like this. That's not me, that's not me, that's not me. And then everybody else thought it was until like I called my parents and I'm like, did you see the movie? Like, we saw the movie. And then Mom went, that wasn't you, was it? And so my mom knew, but nobody else knew.
I was doing a Wallace session for Batman, The Dark Knight Returns, and there were like 6 of us that they all had to say, "Freeze, Batman!" And I got it.
Oh, nice.
But I only found out when the DVD came out. So.
Actually, he thinks he got it. I came in and replaced him.
Yeah, replacing someone can also just be really hard because it just, especially if you end up knowing that person, then it just really hits you hard because you don't want to do that, but you kind of, you have a choice, but you don't have a choice, if that makes sense. So, yeah, that's also tough too.
Also, a lot of times when you're replacing someone, you'll listen to it as like, I think this sounds fine.
Right.
Like, why? It's just somebody, one of the decision makers decides like, I don't like this, I want this.
Sometimes it's as simple as they sound like my ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
And I can't deal with it. And it's really upset. I've had moments like that where I'd come in and I had a completely different character. And, I've been in for several sessions and then I finished before time. They still have a little bit of extra time that I booked for. And they're like, oh, well, while we have you, we might as well do some incidentals or maybe a couple of minor characters or something like that. And this director had this brilliant idea. Oh, actually, the producers have requested this character be replaced, and let's do this. And they played back some of it. I'm like, oh, I know this person. And I knew that this was, and it broke my heart because they were earlier on in their journey than I was, and I had already done this full character in this project, and you don't have the choice often. You can't just sit there and say, no, I'm not gonna.
Especially in that situation,
Yeah.
you're already in the bit.
You're already in the
There is a bit of, let's say they are trying to make something go union, one of the main characters says like, no, and that's the reason I'm not coming back for it.
Right.
It would be really crummy to take that role whenever they're trying to do something like.
That is what's referred to as a scab.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah. When something is trying to go union or was union and then goes non-union, and so the union actors can't do it, and then non-union actors come in to do it. Is that the right way to describe it?
Yeah.
Right? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So unfortunately, those people are referred to as scabs. It's basically this, not the same exact thing, but it's similar to crossing a picket line when there is
I think it's completely the same thing.
Yeah. It's very similar.
And it's a difficult thing. That's a complete gray area because it's hard to tell somebody no, don't go get work because especially if they're just starting out, especially if this is their bread and butter, and if that $500 or $800 or whatever it's going to be is going to make or break their month. It's hard to tell them no, don't go, and it's a personal, not preference. It's a personal choice, a professional choice. And a lot of times, especially within like an acting community or what have you, it can become very stigmatized, and people can get very upset about certain things or what have you. But it's really a case-by-case basis when something like this happens, and you've got to weigh the pros and cons of every situation and make your choices with a level head, and hopefully not hold anything against anybody else who's going to go and do something because they simply need that opportunity. It's hard.
As far as I know, that doesn't happen a
No.
lot.
So that's the good, not a lot,
Right.
not a whole lot.
Well, we just have a few minutes left, so I thought I would ask everyone, in the realm of voice acting, there's a lot of different styles, right? And what's your favorite type of voice acting and your least favorite type of voice acting?
Like what kind of characters?
No, it's like style. So for example,
Oh,
with anime, we all record one at a time. Unless there's a wall session, which is sort of the background talking and noises, and that's usually 3 or more. But with original animation, we rehearse it like a radio play, and we'll all record at the same time, and we'll sort of riff off of each other. And for me, that's my favorite type because it's the most interactive. And my least favorite type is audiobooks.
Oh my!
What a slog!
I would rather work any other job than narrate audiobooks.
I will dig a ditch
Yes.
and build your fence for you.
Yes.
Audiobooks are, I mean, no, I'll do it. I know you're working on one.
No. What I was gonna say is, unless it's like a multicast audiobook to where you actually get some
Well, that's
substance
cool.
in it.
But you gotta be every character.
Oh no, that's gotta be really boring.
Yeah, and the way they pay you on audiobooks is weird too, because they don't pay you by the hour, they pay you by the finished hour. So however long it takes you to finish an hour of audio, that's what you get paid. And every time you make a mistake, you got to go back and do it again. So you're doing it all. You're like this weird cyborg where you're the engineer, the director, and the actor all at the same time.
It takes a special kind of patience.
Yeah.
It's also very draining.
Yeah.
I think it's draining because you're reading page after page after page after page, and then after a while, if you do it for a long enough amount of time, your words start to slur, and you start to say things that aren't actually there. You know, you start to add words, and it's like, oh, okay, now I need a break.
My favorite is I like how Disney does theirs. I worked on a few shows with them, Star Wars Force City People and Pickle Peanut. I like to where you're not having to match mouth flaps. It's nice that you can kind of make those choices in the booth.
And then they'll animate the flaps to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's that's probably my favorite. And least favorite, I'm gonna have to say audiobooks again because I'm gonna die. I mean, I really can't tell you how much I would not want to do one. If someone said you're gonna die unless you read it, I'd go, no! Just sit in the room and pout. And start with that.
Tell my mother I love her.
Oh, I was working on Halo Wars, that line, tell my mom I loved her.
Yeah.
It's like whenever they're like, okay, this is what your character says if you go in and you know it's certain death. And I messed up the line, I was like, tell your mom I love her. They kept it in the game. So, when my Marine goes in there to fight the Covenant, that's my last act of defiance.
I'd also have to say that I'm really lucky. I've been working on an audiobook for the last year, but it's not just me, it's a multicast audiobook, and it's also a romance novel. So that can't get boring, but the narration, the narration is all done by me, at least in the first book, and it's draining, and it's very, so I agree, it's probably not my favorite. I love all forms of it, but I do love anime. I don't mind the lip flapping, but I also like it when my character is not on screen. So I'm like, yes, score, easy work.
OS.
Well, yeah, or when your character, I had Grims, who was this like demon character. His mouth didn't move.
Yes,
It was glorious.
yes, that is also, yeah, right. Yeah, it's interesting because, dubbing is a skill. It's a skill. So I like perfecting that skill as well. So, what about you?
No,
Say audiobooks, I'm gonna smack you. You really
I don't want to read your audiobook. I won't say that. I love Western style animation. I love doing relay stuff because then you can play with all your friends and they usually provide lunch. That was a lot of fun. It's getting to it. I don't know if anybody else in here is an actor, but it's really fun. Right? It's something else when you get to really react off of each other and really have a true conversation and you're listening to what they're saying and responding to it, which you still do in anime. It's just sometimes you don't. Maybe you're the first one in, or It's difficult to know how somebody else is going to say their previous line to you, so that you can respond to it however it might show up. And we've done multiple takes before. You do say decent things, and sometimes directors, it's their prerogative to say, all right, let's respond as though they're saying it this way, and let's respond as though they're saying it this way. We'll see how I decide to correct them on the day that they come in, and that's fun too. I do enjoy anime a lot, actually. I actually really enjoy finding things. It's kind of like a puzzle for me. So it's fun to try to figure out how you can work with your performance and work with the timing to make it a cohesive thing all together that works with the animation itself. And anime is where I work primarily. I don't get as many opportunities to do Western style animation yet. Let's be optimistic. Yes, but no, I love doing anime, and video games are fun too because those are rapid fire, and you don't have any time to think. You're just like, let's go. I'm like, okay. Yeah. But yeah, Western style they usually have lunch for you. Yeah, and I guess for the style that I'm not as much of a fan of, and it's only because I haven't done as much of it, so I'm not as familiar, so I don't feel as confident, would be commercial. Commercial reads are, I haven't worked as much in commercial, I haven't trained as much in commercial, so I understand the idea behind it, and I understand the technique behind it, but I just haven't had as much practice as I have with these other mediums. So that's something for me to work on for myself. 2020 is the year of... Yes.
I like it all. Except with caveat. I don't do a whole lot of shooting games anymore, unless it's a character with a lot of dialogue, because I don't want to go in and do those wall sessions where I'm just for an hour and a half, or screaming, because I'm done for the week, and I do other things during the week that I really enjoy, and I can't, and so I don't do those anymore. They're just miserable. I was doing it, I'll tell you a real quick story. I was doing, it's funny, it was funny for me anyway. We were doing I think it was Medal of Honor, and we were at the old POP down in Santa Monica, and we were in a room, there were 6 of us, and we're all behind our stands, and doing that kind of thing. First take of the day, I gotta go, and then done, cut, great guys. Older gentleman, older than me. Is this what we're going to be doing for this session all the time? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. He's like, no, this isn't for me. It was awesome. It was like, wow, dude.
Well, that's so important though, because you really do need to think about your vocal health and weigh the pros and cons. Like, all right, am I going to stand here for? Because sometimes a lot of the clients don't always understand what vocal health really means and that vocal stress. And like, we'd like you to be here for 4 hours and scream your face off. And is it, you're going to make a certain amount of money on this project, and maybe you're going to hurt yourself and not be able to work for 3 or 4 weeks. We've had friends, Brad Venable injured himself home and he couldn't work for, was it over a month? I think it was over a month. He couldn't work. He was on vocal rest because he strained something so badly, and he missed out on some very large projects. Of course, he's working again. He's fully healed and he's back at it like better than ever. But things like that can happen, and sometimes you can cause irreparable damage, especially if you're pushing too hard.
So if any of you are planning to create video games, keep that in mind.
They can be all peaceful. But really quick before we go, let's run down the line, tell everyone what else you're doing this weekend here at the con. Let us know.
Yeah, well, glad you asked. I'm kidding. I think I have a panel myself tonight. We do mine a little, or this afternoon. We do mine a little different. As if you've been to mine, I won't get out. We sit together and just talk and chat. So bring something to eat, and it's a little more intimate. And I have an autograph session. I think at I don't know what.
2 o'clock.
Thank you. 2 o'clock. You're a man. 2 o'clock. And I had my own ribbons made, so I've got ribbons for people, and I have hair ribbons made for you ladies, and I have this, and I also have one that says dynamic entry from Guy. So please come stop by at the autograph session and get one of these. And you can use it to tie up your ribbons as well. Okay, so there you go. That's what I'm doing.
That's awesome. Right after this, at 1 o'clock, I'm gonna go. I'll be over at the autograph table, so come and say hi to me and give me a hug because I get lonely. And then
Be gentle.
I'm okay. And then that's it for me today. But tomorrow, right at 11:45, I have a panel called Anna Mad Libs with Laura, and I take scripts from anime or plots from episodes and things, and I turn them into Mad Libs. Yeah, we're gonna see how that goes. So I would love for you guys to come and check that out with me, so that I'm not sitting there alone and lonely again. And then I have more autographs that day as well. And Sunday's a big day. Oh, and then I'm also doing the how to audition with Adventures in Voice Acting tomorrow evening at I think 8:15, something like that. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, not AM. No, please. And then on Sunday I'll be doing the Adventures in Voice Acting, how to write for anime, ADR adapting. So if you're interested in what that process looks like, because we don't really discuss it as much, what the scripts look like, how you need to format them, how to take the direct translation and turn it into something that's palatable for the Western, audience and things like that, while staying true to the dialogue. Come and find out because I'm a big nerd about it. Yeah, and then I might be. Are you going to be at the women in the industry, anime women in the industry thing? You
Apparently not, because it's not on my schedule.
Well, just come anyway.
Yes.
Okay. That is on Sunday at 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did I say we're gonna get together and have cookies together in my session? That's all. I mean, all the stuff you're doing, that's impressive. I'm eating cookies with people saying, hey, what do you want to talk about? You got all that, that's impressive.
Well, come play with me.
I'm gonna come to one of those. Yeah, I'm gonna learn how to audition. While they get this thing down. Yes.
Listen, I'm still trying to figure it out myself.
So yeah, come and hang out with us.
Let's see. I have autographs at 2 today. And then when I am not on a panel or at autographs, I have a table which is located right next to the autographs area. So I'll most likely be there, well, I will be there as much as I can throughout the weekend, which is throughout the entire weekend. So please come see me there. I will have things for sale and all of that stuff. And then,
I'm gonna come see you.
come see me! It was really loud, I'm sorry. I was really close to the mic, I'm so sorry. And then, let's see, autographs are the last thing I have today, so after that, I will be at my table for the rest of the day. And then Saturday, I have autographs at 1 to 2. Sunday, I have another autograph, 11 to 12. And then I'm supposed to be on the old-time voiceover radio drama at Anime LA, which is in this room.
Yeah.
Is anyone else on that?
No.
Are you? Yay! Okay. Yes, and then yes. So that's it. So like I said, any other time that I'm not at autographs autographs or on a panel, I will be at my table. Please come by and see me and check out all the cool stuff that I have.
I forgot a thing.
Oh,
I forgot a thing on Saturday. I think at 10 p.m. there's gonna be voice actor karaoke takeover. There's gonna be several voice actors there.
Right.
Myself and Tony Oliver and a bunch of other folks.
Where is that?
In the karaoke room. Where's that? Behind us.
But they were also doing karaoke in the bar. So
I don't
not
know.
that.
Then I don't know. We'll have to find out. Let's all work together.
I will be at the autograph table at 2 p.m. today, and then tomorrow at 11:15 a.m. Saturday we'll have the Danganronpa mock trial, where we're gonna have me and a bunch of other fans voicing the characters in their own mock trial. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And then on Sunday I'm doing the old time radio drama, and I think I have autographs on Saturday too, but it's after the mock trial.
Chris, come to karaoke.
Nice.
Okay, baby.
So I've got autographs today at 3, tomorrow at noon, and then tomorrow at 6. They were crazy enough to ask me to play a concert here. So I've got my whole band coming tomorrow, and we're playing at 6 o'clock tomorrow in the entertainment lounge, and my goal is that you'll be able to hear it from the hotel. The entertainment lounge is in the convention center on the 2nd floor.
So you're saying you don't want to come to karaoke?
Well, no, karaoke's at 10.
But will you?
I'll come to karaoke too. But let me do my concert first.
Okay.
I'll sing Hamilton songs. Yeah! All right, well, thank you guys so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm singing at 1 o'clock because everybody else is going to be at 2, but I'm going to be at 1.
Oh, wow! That's beautiful.
That's pretty impressive.
Oh,